glad the keys was a prediction. Ooh, so let's sing it together. Oh, this ooh. We're still doing it. Okay, don't play well with others. All right. Hey. Well, I learned as a child there's two ways to see the world as it is and the way it could be. Some people say that's just not my problem. Some people do what must be done. Now they see the hole in the fabric that must be sewn. They see the way blockaded and they roll back the stone. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Now this is the chorus. Some people do what must be done. Well, they do what must be done. Oh, they see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Let's try that again. Some people do what must be done. Well, they do what must be done. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. I've seen the toll taken, the tears that were shed. I've seen the journey started and the ripples spread. Some people say that's just not my problem. Some people do what must be done. Now they see the hole in the fabric that must be sewn. They see the way blockaded, they roll back the stone. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Here we go. Some people do what must be done. Well, they do what must be done. Hey, they see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Oh, one last time. Some people do what must be done. Oh, yes, but they do what must be done. Yeah. See the day beyond the horizon. They do what must be done. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. They see the way on that long road to freedom. And they do what must be done.
So you see how today is going to go. I feel like I should say, can I hear an amen? So I'm going to say, can I hear an amen? Yeah, all right. Good morning, welcome. I'm Reverend Dan Schatz. This is Greg Greenway. This is Reggie Harris. If you are familiar with them, or if you were here last night, you know that today's service is going to be a treat. And you know the power of the stories and the songs that Greg and Reggie bring. We are here this morning to open ourselves to one another, to create a space for all our stories, all our truths, our struggles, our histories and dreams. We are here this morning to reach toward one another, creating a community of heart and mind and spirit with the holiness of love. Let us enter into worship together.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Congregation of Westchester. Our mission is to grow in spirit, heart, and mind, love through care and community, and serve beyond ourselves. My name is David Blackburn. I'm part of the lay ministry of our congregation. We're very pleased to have you with us this morning, whether you are here online or in person. We especially want to welcome our visitors and newcomers. Thank you for joining us this morning. We hope to have the chance to get to know you better. You can make a name tag, fill out a visitor form in the lobby near where you came in. And in the lobby, there are pronoun stickers for newcomers and current members alike to add to our name tags. If you are here in person, we hope you'd stay with us after the service for social hour. You can pick up food in the social room behind me. You may enter through either door and eat in the sanctuary. If you're here in person, please take a moment to silence your digital devices. If you're joining us online this morning, welcome. If you are logged in with a Google account, we hope you'll say hello in the chat. However you are with us, we'd love to get to know you better. You can find out more about us and request to be on our mailing list by visiting our webpage at www.ucwc.org. Unitarian Universalism holds that great good comes from wide diversity. So, whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your heritage, and from wherever your beliefs spring, we are pleased that you are here. Let us walk a while together. There are several announcements this morning. The Intergen Choir will practice today at 11:15 downstairs in the Spirit Playroom. The Intergen Choir will be singing on Music Sunday on May 17th and on RE Sunday on June 7th. Come and join us. Contact music@ucwc.org for more information. We are switching things up for May. Our May potluck is early, so it doesn't correspond with Mother's Day, so it is next week. You probably received an email with the alphabetized listing of who brings what to the potluck. If you have not turned in your pledge, you know who you are. Please send it in so we don't have to come knocking on your door. And Dan, you have some announcements.
And if you don't know who you are, but you hear this thing that says pledging, I'd like to get in on that. This would be a great time. There are lots of people you can talk to. I'm going to ask actually Janine to just raise her hand over there. Talk to Janine or talk to me. I'll point you towards Janine or to somebody else that knows exactly how to help you. So I have two announcements. One of which is we are having a photo contest. You might have seen this in Connections. We are looking for photos of life at UCWC. We have lots of photos of people kind of standing at the pulpit or playing music or things like that, but just photos of us being with each other, or us in this space, or other things we do together. So what you can do is during the next month, please email your photos to photos@ucwc.org. They can be cell phone photos, whatever you've got. Photos@ucwc.org. And we will have a special site where you can look at them and you can mark the ones that you especially like, and whoever finishes with the most likes, loves, hearts. I'm not actually very familiar with this site. I don't know what we do, but we'll figure it out. Other people know. Will win a $40 gift certificate to In Spirit, which is the UUA bookstore, where you can get not only books, but swag. So it's worth doing. The second thing that I wanted to lift up is there are opportunities that are being created right now to help the immigrant community in Westchester, especially in the current environment. If you are interested in this work, please come talk to me after the service today. I will be downstairs during most of the service with our kids, but I will be up here during social hours, so please come talk to me if that is work you are interested in doing.
Today's chalice lighting is courtesy the great poet and author Langston Hughes. Quote, "Perhaps the mission of an artist is to interpret beauty to people, the beauty within themselves." To rise to sing without the hymnals the hymn Welcome Table.
Good morning. Oh, those voices sound like they need to sing. This is one of the long-standing hymns that come from the modern civil rights movement, although the message is one that comes out of the time of slavery. People in slavery, the enslaved African Americans, found themselves in a situation where they were not invited to the welcome table here in America. The welcome table that preached that all men are created equal. And so the community, as they did, addressed that in many ways, and they addressed it in song. So they said, I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. And then the important word, the most important word in this song would be, hallelujah. Thank you very much. Say it just like him. I'm going to sit at the welcome table. Many of these songs are repetitious, first of all, because it was easy for people to learn if there weren't that many words. Secondly, they were excited about the fact that they were working hard, as we all find ourselves having the opportunity. So this morning we sing, I'm gonna sit at the welcome table, hallelujah. Well, I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days, hallelujah. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these. Food for all. You
please remain standing as we recite together our affirmation in your order of service. We gather, aspiring to be a thriving, caring, and welcoming community that supports each person's spiritual journey, embraces diversity, challenges us to live responsibly, and is a catalyst for a just and compassionate world. Now you may sit.
Good morning again. Good morning. I am reminded from time to time, pretty much every day, that morning is not my time. And yet I've made a career of performing many times in schools and at universities where I find that I have to get up in the morning. And there are many incentives to that. The biggest incentive is that I get to sing. But there are other things that drive me to go against what seems to be my nature and perform and be active at times when it would not be natural for me to be so. And when we look at the ways in which and the reasons that people do things in the world, it's just fascinating how diverse and unusual we can be. When we look at people working for freedom and justice, we often just kind of think, well, they're doing what they believe is the right thing. But doing the right thing, even when it is the right thing, can be tiring and wearying and just plain hard. And so as we look back on the stories, we know Harriet Tubman, for example, she was driven to go back some 11 times and then to do other amazing things in the cause of freedom by her love of her family and her love of other people. The fact that she made it to freedom on her own and managed to get to Philadelphia wasn't enough for her, because she knew that there were people back in bondage. And so she was driven by that love. And sometimes love is the reason. Sometimes it's just the sense of fairness or the sense of justice itself. But sometimes it's not enough. And such was the case with Joanne Bland. Now, true, Joanne was only 5 years old. So her understanding of justice and the ills of the world were a little limited. Her grandmother was trying very hard to get her to understand that there were bigger things in life. And her grandmother did a very good job of that by demonstrating in action what could be done. So that's why her grandmother, she was living with her grandmother because unfortunately her mother had died. Some of those things that came along with segregation. Her mother went into the hospital needing a blood transfusion, and the doctors told her family that they didn't have any black blood that was nearby. And so by the time the blood came from distance, her mom passed away. And Joanne and her sister Linda went to live with Grandma. Now, Grandma was feisty and she was passionate about freedom. So when she told Joanne that she was going to go to a meeting and that the kids had to go because, well, she didn't have anybody to watch them, she said, we're going to go and we're going to fight for freedom. Now, to Joanne, this was the stupidest thing in the world. Well, because she'd been to school. And she said, in school they told me that Abraham Lincoln had freed the slaves. So we didn't have anything to fight for. She didn't have the complete picture. So when it came time to go, Grandma wrapped up Linda and Joanne and started walking them to the church where this meeting was going to take place. It was one of those mass meetings, and it was early in the civil rights movement. So not a lot of people in Selma, Alabama were kind of used to this, but Joanne's grandmother, she was at the forefront. So as they were walking, they went through downtown Selma and they got to the church. And they got there as a man began to talk about what it was going to take to work for freedom. And he said they were going to have to be nonviolent. Nonviolent. Well, people began to ask what that would mean. And when it was explained, Joanne in her little seat thought, that's the second stupidest thing I've ever heard. She said, I know in the schoolyard that whenever somebody hits me, I hit them back. Joanne's story, they said that she actually was told to go outside during that first meeting and play because she failed nonviolence. Well, they went to meeting after meeting, and Joanne just was not happy about the way this was going. But on one of the trips to the church for one of these evening meetings, they passed the drugstore right there on Main Street. And the drugstore was such that they had a big show window. And inside, you could see that right at the front of the store, there were some stools for people to sit on. And those stools were kind of neat because they were the round stools that would spin around. And as they went by the store the one day, Joanne saw that there were kids in there. And they were spinning around and they had ice cream cones. And Joanne looked at that and she knew where she wanted to be. So she said to her grandmother, Grandma, can we go in and get some ice cream? And her grandmother said, oh, no, baby, I'm sorry. You see, only white people can go in and have ice cream there. And those little kids, well, their parents have taken them there, but I'm sorry, we'll have to wait and have ice cream at home. And Joanne was not happy. But off to the meeting they went. And at the meeting, well, this time she sat and listened to the man and then the woman who talked about freedom. They still weren't convincing her that this was worth working for. But she listened this time. And then they went home and they continued. Well, Joanne, she wanted to please her grandma. And so on the next week when they were going to the meeting, she said, Grandma, that ice cream in there, I bet it's good. You would enjoy that ice cream. And her grandmother said, yes, I would, dear. But as I told you, we're colored folks. We can't go in there. And then our grandmother had another idea. And she said, you know, Joanne, I'm sure that ice cream is good, and you see how those kids are swinging around on those stools. And Joanne said, yeah. She said, well, Joanne, the reason we're going to these meetings is because they are going to give us rights, and they're going to give us rights to do all sorts of things. And if we work hard enough for freedom, then one day we'll get the freedom to go into that store and have us some ice cream. And Joanne Bland said that was the day she became a freedom fighter. Well, I'm sorry to say that Joanne and her sister Linda both died last year, not too long after each other. But Joanne, for 60-some years, was one of the folks who, if you went to Selma, Alabama, and wanted to know something about the history of that place, or if you wanted to get a tour of the area, and you can also see that whenever filmmakers came to Selma, Alabama, they would find Joanne Bland. And she would tell you what it was like in those days. And one of the things she loved to do was take people to the church, the Brown Chapel AME church, and take them behind where there was a playground with stones scattered about. And Joanne would take you in and she would say, pick up a stone. And everybody in the group would pick up a stone, and she says, you know, this might be the stone that John Lewis stepped on his way to the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Or that might be the stone that Hosea Williams stepped on. Or she would mention some other amazing civil rights worker, and she would say, I want you to take that stone home. And anytime you think that you don't have the courage or the strength to work for freedom and justice, you just take out your stone and remember that that's the stone that that person stepped on to go and join all of those who sacrificed their lives for freedom. And Joanne said, you know, it took ice cream to get me into the movement, but it took an open heart to keep me there. And so it is that as I remember Joanne Glenn today, and I remember her passion, I know that there are many reasons why we can fight for justice and freedom. Certainly, it is a fight that is well worth the making. But every now and then, you might just have to get yourself some ice cream. Let it be so.
Thank you, Reggie. Well, it seems almost abrupt to transition from that directly into the offertory. So instead, we're going to invite the kids to go downstairs to your classes. I'll be joining you shortly. Well, we give to this congregation in many ways. If you are online today, you can go to ucwc.org/giving or add a little to what you would normally pay in your pledge, or you can send us a check. If you are here in person, you could also do these things, or you could simply add a check or some cash to the basket as it comes round. And if this is your first time here, whether you are here in person or online, please allow yourself to be our guest and let this collection pass you by. So you're off the hook, Greg. Reggie, you've been here before, but as we give now to our congregation, I hope all of us will be as generous as we're able within our means. We'll now receive our morning offering. For these gifts and for all that we give in so many ways to all of our communities, including the gift of music, we are truly, truly grateful.
The reading today is from Representative John Lewis. It's from something called Across the Bridge, A Vision for Change in the Future of America. You are a light. You are the light. Never let anyone, any person, or any force dampen, dim, or diminish your light. Study the path of others to make your way easier and more abundant. Lean towards the whispers of your own heart. Discover the universal truth. Follow its dictates. Release the need to hate, to harbor division and the enticement of revenge. Release all bitterness. Hold only love, only peace in your heart, knowing that the battle of good to overcome evil is already won. Choose wisely your confrontation. When it is your time, don't be afraid to stand up, and speak out against injustice. And if you follow your truth down the road to peace and the affirmation of love, if you shine like a beacon for all to see, then the poetry of all the great dreamers and philosophers is yours to manifest in a nation, a world community and a beloved community that is finally at peace with itself. That is finally at peace with itself. Reggie and I travel all over doing what we did last night, a presentation of Deeper Than the Skin. It's what we have called a relationship from the very beginning, and that's been a long one. We met in Greenwich Village at the fabulous old Village Gate coffee house, or jazz club really, and we were in a show that had, I don't know, at least 1 million performers. So it was a Phil Oakes song night, and we were back in the green room, and literally there was long stretches of us being able to sit and talk. And we just found each other, and we immediately found each other. We found a friend, and who knew that however many years later, 35, 40, I don't know what it is now, we would be able to be doing this together, which is really the product of a conversation that had started in that dressing room and is still going on. Hey. So, my story really comes under the heading of what is handed to you and what you do with it. Reggie and I were born 3 days apart. I'm the younger. He gets to boss me around. So, I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. Now, in that day and time, everyone in Richmond talked about those beautiful statues down on Monument Avenue. They were a symbol for our heroes. Our heroes. No one thought twice about it. And when you're a kid and people are telling you this, you believe them. All the people you love and raise you and tell you who you are in this world and what the world's about, you believe them. And so, we fortunately were born at just the right time, because the 60s started to happen, the Vietnam War started to happen, the Civil Rights Movement happened, race riots happened in both of our high schools. And suddenly the reality of history was available to us and readily right in our face. So, what makes someone change their mind? What makes someone change their heart? It takes a significant experience, usually, to get some. It's no one talking at you. Very often, if someone confronts you, all you do is you just back up and hold tighter to your beliefs. And our beliefs, as rational as they may seem on some levels, they are emotionally held. And wrapped around those beliefs are all the people, your parents, your relatives, who told you these stories, who built that foundation. To reject them is to reject the ideas, is to reject them. And so what has to happen? Well, something like the 60s has to happen. I was volunteering in winter break for my high school. And I was sent to go out with a guy from HUD who interviewed everybody who had applied for public housing in Richmond, Virginia. And on that day in January, I remember it was 6 degrees because it had never been 6 degrees down there at that time. So it was so cold. So the gentleman who I rode around in the car for HUD, he was an African-American man. It was his job. We went to a place that was a place in Richmond I had never been. Wasn't all that far from my house, but it's just a place I had never been. Now, the house, you have to imagine, was maybe 16 by 16. It was more like a garden shed. It had no insulation in the house. It literally had fallen over and was leaning on the building next to it. We knocked on the door, and inside there were 4 ancient black people with everything on that they had. Gloves, coats, everything. Sitting around a can of Sterno. I will never forget the look that the closest woman gave me when she turned around and saw a white boy. But it was a look from 1,000 miles away. 1,000 miles away. But there was such a resignation in her look because she was freezing. And we walked out after he did the interview, and he had tears in his eyes. And he said, I'm going to put them at the top of the list, but it's still going to be 6 months before we can put them anywhere. They may not make it. I just remember the shock followed by the rage at how could it be that this wonderful society, this great story has been told about the glory of the South, how do you let people live like that? The system that produces that is shameful. It's only been in the last couple of 100 years that humans have understood that your eyes are not the last level of reality. Used to be, it's the eye test, you know? Then finally, with the discovery of telescopes and microscopes, it's like, oh no, there's so much more going on out there. But then it took probably until the late 1800s before we realized how much our minds determine what we see. Eyes just give us the stimulus. The mind says what it is. So when you see a certain way, as you've been told to, an event like that, to see the look on that woman's face, that will change anyone, I imagine. So I wrote this song as a song coming out of blindness, really. I heard the story, like so many have, of Rosa Parks. But then I heard the story, the part of the story, to me, I find the most dramatic. And that is the night before, she would not move. Her family begged her not to do it for fear of retribution from the Klan. And she had to fight through all of that to say, I'm not moving. So, if you can't see grace, beauty, and courage in that face, and I'm sure that's why they chose her. Goodbye, Rosa, the year has changed. The one when you left us, the one you became, the ones who remember your name, and the day you would not be moved. How many tumblers fell into place? How many somedays just had to wait? How many lifetimes waited away till the moment came down to you? You were big, strong, and threatening. It might not be the case, like thousands before you, blurred and erased, but you were small and defenseless, face of grace. The moment it came down to you. I can't take no more.
I won't take no more.
I can't take no more.
I can't take no more.
I can't take no more. I won't take no more. Goodbye, Rosa. The year has changed. The one when you left us, the one you became, the ones who remember your name, and the day you would not be moved. The year that this happened was 55. I'd been born in Virginia, barely arrived in the bundle my fathers handed me to their surprise. Were the ears to hear you. I can't take no more.
I won't take no more.
I can't take no more. I can't take no more. I can't take no more. Goodbye, Rosa. The year has changed. The one when you left us, the one you became, the ones who remember your name, and the day you would not be moved. Goodbye, goodbye, and the day you would not be moved, and the day it came down to you.
The day it came down to you. That is one of the remarkable things about American history, is that the dream that was there at the start was of freedom. And yet freedom means so many different things to different people. The way it was defined in the Declaration of Independence was that they said all men are created equal. And that's pretty much what they meant. but they didn't mean it in the terms of everyone who was even here at that time. I mentioned last night that having a couple days here in the area, I was compelled to go to the Museum of the American Revolution on Friday, and I hadn't been there. So it was a wonderful experience of the story being told, and in comparison to the other museums that I've had the opportunity to visit over the course of my life, the one thing that it reminded me of was how complex history is. And for whatever reason, we all need to be reminded of that from time to time, which is, I guess, why they build museums, right? Because we go in and our lives, for the most part, focus on simple narratives, you know, good and bad, and ways in which people interact with each other. There are good neighbors, there are bad neighbors, there are good countries and bad countries. We seem to do the wide spectrum extreme thing because our lives are complicated. And yet we don't always apply that to history. And I was sort of struck throughout that museum by the tremendous amount of opportunities that America had from before its beginning to be a different place. And yet we know that the narrative that we have, you know, we grew up being told very simple things. You can be anything you want to be. Well, not so much. All people are created equal. Well, they might have been created equal, but somewhere along the line, that equality gets reduced. And we know that generally there are themes that come. When I was growing up here in the area, I was in a neighborhood in Nicetown, Tioga, in Philadelphia, of people who mostly look like me. It wasn't always that way, and I found out when I was about 30 years old that my family was one of the first, well, actually, we were the first to move into the street where I grew up. Grew up at 3714 North 17th Street and in Philadelphia, and everybody there, with the exception of two families, for most of the time that I lived there, had basically the same story. Remember people who had come north on the black migration, where 6 million African Americans decided from North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, anywhere in the South, that they were going to flee the South. And I knew that my family had come from Virginia, but I didn't know what drove my grandmother and grandfather to leave. Along the way, I found out little bits and pieces. You know, there was slavery, but they weren't slaves. But they somehow realized, as did those other 6 million refugees, really, who left their southern homes and came north for a better world. They were going to the promised land. And they found out that the promised land was very much like the place they had just left. Same stories, just played out differently. But I grew up in that bubble in Nicetown, Tioga. We said Nicetown, Tioga, I think, because we didn't want to fully commit to Tioga because Nicetown was closer to Chestnut Hill. They were always looking forward. And they didn't talk much about what they left behind, although every now and then we would take that trip and go south. And we would store up enough food in the car so that we didn't have to stop at a restaurant and be surprised. And I remember when we were traveling, my sister and I, with my great aunt and uncle, going to stay with them for a couple of weeks in the summer, we would experience those things of pulling up into a gas station and then sitting there for a while car after car of white occupants were served before us, and my sister, who always had the biggest mouth, she would say, "Why do they get to go? We were here first." And my great aunt would say, "Pipe down." And my sister would just persist. Finally, my great uncle, both of them college-educated black folks, they would say, "You young people sit there and be quiet. Be respectful. We'll have our turn." I can only imagine how much it hurt them to tell us that we had to accept segregation in silence. And yet, we continued to keep our connections to the South. And for whatever reason, I heard the words in church that you should treat people as you would hope to be treated and respect people and be an example of the glory of God. And somehow that translated to me that I also was important and that I had an important job in the world. I didn't quite know what that job was. But little by little, I discovered that one of my gifts was making friends. And so I made friends as fast as I could. And that included the time when I was sent to a new school for junior high. I went to Cook Junior High School, which was 3 neighborhoods away from my neighborhood in Nicetown, Tioga. And I landed in a schoolyard with a lot of kids who didn't look like me. But then again, I didn't look like them. And we fought and we struggled and we were puzzled by the differences. My mom went to a parent-teacher meeting, and my history teacher, a very light-skinned black man, Mr. Nicholas, he said to my mom, "You know, Reginald gets along with all the kids in the class. He's one of the kids who's sort of the glue in our classroom. Kids like him, and you know, Reginald's such an interesting kid. He's very eclectic." And my mom came home to tell me that Mr. Nicholas says you talk too much. But what he was getting at was that I was a black kid who seemed to break boundaries. And so he asked my mother where I was going to go to high school because he knew where I was from. And she said, "He'll probably come back into our neighborhood when he graduates from here." And he knew that meant I was going to go to Gratz High School, which was 99% black, and a school that struggled. So he said, "Well, Miss Harris, I think Reggie would do much better to go to the school where most of these other kids are going to go." And she said, "Where's that?" He said, "Well, that would be Alney High School. It's 2 more neighborhoods away from where you live, but I think I can get him to go there if he takes German for 4 years." Yep, that's how it went. But I also got to join the choir there, and the choir director, Mr. Nucci, he believed that all of his kids, or his rousters as he called us, that we were all part of his choir community family. And so we had kids from all over the place. Didn't have very many from Nicetown, Tioga, where I grew up. And I understood that most of these kids grew up in areas that were much nicer. So I didn't tell anybody where I lived for those 4 years. But Mr. Nucci found ways to let me know that he still saw me as a valuable member of that community. Communities. Greg and I have experienced a friendship that spans and invites the understanding of different communities. Because as basketball players, as musicians, as curious individuals, we have sought out a life that takes us around the world and opened our hearts to the fact that we have a light that we can shine that really takes from each place that we go and introduces the connection and the unity of each of those communities. So our time with you today will benefit somewhere else because of the love and hospitality you've shown us already, and because of the fact that you are clearly working hard to make this world less caustic and less divisive. Well, the community that I had in my family extended to the South, so I understood that story between North and South. But I didn't understand how deeply my family really portrayed it. And so when I found out that my family started on a plantation in Richmond, Virginia, or actually Ashland, Virginia, we also had relatives in Richmond, I was kind of puzzled by the fact that I had no particular allegiance to the North. I was only seeking truth and light. And that truth grew even deeper when I found out in 2010 that I had a connection to not only the black families of the South, but to a family named Wickham. You see, my family, the Hewletts, began their lives on a plantation of 3,000 acres of land that was owned by one of the prominent families in Virginia. And Williams Carter Wickham, Confederate general, state legislator, and slave owner, had 6 children by one of his enslaved women. And that was the start of my family. And being given that information was a gift, because from the time that I can remember, I have always been interested in not only making friends, but having those friendships lead to a greater understanding for myself and for anyone that I could make contact with. And in teaching a course in 2010 at the Swannanoa Gathering in North Carolina, I was given another opportunity, because on a particular Wednesday afternoon of teaching a group of students, I shared that I had this connection to a Confederate general. That in fact, a Confederate general was my great-great-great-grandfather, paired with that enslaved woman through some very unequal circumstance, and yet the two of them produced 6 children. And that union between the two of them seemed to me to give me a very unique gift of being a bridge in our nation, because our nation has been built in the frame of people coming together. Langston Hughes said that the words that he used were that we, heart by heart and hand by hand, began building this land. Well, heart by heart means that in finding out that I was related to the Wickhams, I got an opportunity through an amazing connection to actually meet Lisa Wickham, Wallace Wickham Raymer, and their brother George, in an exercise of openness and an exercise of curiosity that has led me to embrace my white cousins and to have them embrace me. That connection and my friendship with Greg has transformed my life and given me a new mission in the world. A mission that through music and story and through open conversation, I realize that I have a story that meets the needs of the day. It meets the needs of our country and our world, where right now we are struggling with just a mission of diversity and the acceptance of openness. Getting an opportunity to walk the property in Ashland, Virginia with my white cousin Lisa. Each of us puzzled and awkwardly unable to share words together, and yet having a day of realizing that on that piece of land, our two families were forever joined. What are the needs of the day? Well, from our perspective, it was an opportunity to say, yes, this is how we started, but we have so much more to give. And one of the things that we now have established is a scholarship, the Wickham Hewlett Scholarship for at-risk students in the Virginia Commonwealth Schools. Having now had 5 recipients of that scholarship go forward in the world understanding that they also have a light to share. But it all started on that day walking the property of Hickory Hill and letting our past meet our present. Across these fields of broken blood that binds us all together is indeed much thicker than it seems. Oh, Hickory Hill, we're on hallowed ground, walking side by side, wondering what we found. Hearts break open wide across this great divide. Can you see the questions in my eyes? Oh, Hickory Hill, we're on solid ground, standing side by side, wondering what we found. Hearts break open wide across this great divide. Can you hear those demons as they die? Now that we are home again. We need more light about each other, so we encourage you to tell your story, however diverse it is, however it makes you feel to tell that story. The world needs to hear your story and your light, and may it be so.
Thank you, Reggie and Greg. For those of you that are new to our congregation, we light candles before the service to acknowledge the joys and sorrows in our lives. And we write cards or send emails to our pastoral care team. As we enter this time in our service, when we read the cards of sharing, please sing the songs printed, or please sing the words printed in your order of service. There is a love holding me.
Good morning. My name is Pam Sears. I'm a member of the pastoral care team and the contact person for April. We have a number of cards this morning. The first is a sorrow. A former member of the congregation passed away on April 15th in Massachusetts. She and her husband were not here long, but they made many strong connections while here, and many in our community will remember her. The next one is a joy. So many came to help set up for the long-awaited Deeper Than Skin concert on Saturday evening. And another joy from someone in appreciation for all who helped bring Deeper Than Skin to UCWC. Another joy, grateful that a close friend is home from a scary journey, happy they are back on a good path. And a sorrow, sorry to be helping a fur baby over the Rainbow Bridge tomorrow, but knowing her suffering will be over, she will be missed. Another sorrow. We said goodbye to our sweet dog Martha last week. She was the goodest girl that ever was. And another sorrow. Send light for my son in Rhode Island, who's struggling with bipolar disorder and anxiety while working to finish his PhD. He says he's seeing light at the end of the tunnel. He just needs some more love. And the last is a joy. 11 years ago today, we walked through the door of this amazing place. We are so blessed to be here. And as always, the candle's been lit for those joys, sorrows, and concerns that we hold in our hearts but that remain unspoken.
Please join me singing the order of service, There is a Love Holding Us.
If you would like to stand in body or spirit, however it works for you, we would like to sing a song for you, and we will teach it to you as it goes. But first, I get a little solo here just to warm you up. Oh, it's a mighty long way from over yonder. Oh, it's a mighty long way from there to here. We're gonna take it, oh yes, one step at a time, so that we can make that walk from there to here. Now here's how it works. It's a mighty long way. It's a mighty long way from over yonder.
Over yonder.
It's a mighty long way.
It's a mighty long way
From there to here.
there to here.
And we're gonna take it, oh yes, one step at a time, so that we can make that walk from there to here. Let's try it again. Oh, it's a mighty long way.
It's a mighty long way
From over yonder.
over yonder.
It's a mighty long way.
Mighty long way
From there to here.
there to here.
We're gonna take it, oh yes, one step at a time, so that we can make that walk from there to here. Now every child born
Every child born
is a revolution.
revolution.
Is a revolution with a song inside. Some won't hear it, oh, some hear nothing else. You'll sing night and day just to keep that song alive.
Here we go.
Oh, it's a mighty long way
Mighty long way
over yonder.
over
It's a
yonder.
mighty long way
Mighty long
from
way
there to here. We're gonna take it one step at a time, so that we can make that walk from there to here. Now, when you've got a dream,
You got a dream.
you got to stand up.
Stand up.
Stand up and shout it.
Stand up and shout
Shout it loud and
Loud
clear.
and clear.
What's that I'm hearing? It's the voice of the people singing that we will make that walk from there to here. Oh, it's a mighty long way
Mighty long way
over yonder.
over yonder.
It's a mighty long way
Mighty long way
from there to here. that we can make that walk from there to here, so that we can make that walk from there to here, so that we can make that walk from there to here.
Before we close, let's take a moment to thank Reggie and Greg for their words and music today.
Thank you. Oh, we're getting to stand and open to that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
For those of you who would like to take a little bit of the spirit of today's service, is that you'll see a table in the lobby with CDs and books and such that you can bring the words and music with these two extraordinary gentlemen home with you. Today's closing reading comes from the poet, the humanitarian, the writer, and the most fabulous of human beings, Maya Angelou. Quote, "Courage is the most important of all the virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. You can practice any virtue erratically, but nothing consistently without courage."
I've been running ever since, but it's been a
long time coming, but I know change's gonna come.
Oh, yes it will.
It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky.
It's been a
long time coming, but I know change's gonna come.
Oh, yes it will. Well, I go to the movies and I go downtown.
Somebody's always telling me, don't hang around.
But it's been a
long time coming, but I know change's gonna come.
oh,
Yes, it will.
and I go, yes, I go to see my brother. And I say, brother, won't you help me, please?
But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees.
There were times that I thought I just couldn't go on.
I think I'm able to carry on. Long time coming, but I know change's gonna come.
Oh,
Yes, it will.
and I go, yes, I go to see my brother. And I say, brother, won't you help me, please?
Reggie Harris.
Greg Greenway, and all of you.